Welcome to AFI Fest, presented by Audi. My name is Sarah Harris. I'm the Director of Programming for AFI Festivals. First, I want to thank our supporters of the festival, our presenting sponsor, Audi, all of our AFI members, and you, our audience. I'm here today with the Director of Should the Wind Drop, Nora Martirosyan, and the actor, Grégoire Colin. Welcome and congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start us off with a question for Nora, which is, first of all, this is an incredible debut. Very, very impressive. And tell us, I mean, when I was researching this, I noticed you don't have a film background. You're more in the visual arts. So how did you come into making this particular film and filmmaking and this story?
Yeah, in fact, it started from getting acquainted to the place, which is called Nagorno-Karabakh, a country which doesn't exist on the world maps and that exists physically. And the first time I went there 11 years ago, I told to myself that to make it being seen, cinema can help. So it was like a decision not just to make a film, but to make a film about this place. So these two things, they went really on together. And the place and the story of this place is so much fictional. It's stronger than any fiction you can imagine. And the way I went through was how to tell a story which would be as strong as the reality is. What kind of fiction could be as strong as the absurdity of the reality? So, yeah.
That's incredible. Gregoire, did you know much about this place before getting involved in the film?
No, not at all. No. A bit like the character I hear during the news a long time ago, just on TV, some brief news about this war. But yeah, I discover the place with Nora, yes. C'est ça, on comprend ce que je dis ou pas? Je vous entends très mal. Ça grésille énormément. Ça fait... Je comprends rien. Sorry. Tu comprends? T'entends?
Moi, je te comprends très bien.
Mais moi, je vous entends, ça fait... Bon, ok, anyway, c'est pas grave. Je devine.
Okay, go on with the next question. He doesn't have a very good level of sound, but go on.
Okay. So there's a lot of layers to this story that I think are really fascinating. One part of it being this outsider is trying to make sense of this place, and this place that also exists in, physically it's this space, but it's not actually something that exists politically, and so therefore it doesn't have an identity. And that's like I don't know, it's a very interesting idea, I think, to put in a film. It's very ambitious. And it's also this this character of the airport itself as a kind of monument of hope. I would love to hear more about that, Nora, and that kind of where those ideas came from, and specifically creating that layer to the story.
Yeah, as I told before, the idea to make the film came from the place. So the place with its this political inexistence, and I was trying to write a story that would help understanding it, because it's complicated, as you say, to write a story about political inexistence. And when for the first time I met the airport, when for the first time I saw the airport, I and there are many other objects, architectural and administrative buildings. But the airport, it immediately appeared to me that the airport can be the symbol of this hope, the symbol of this desire of recognition. So the airport, from quite the beginning, became the center of the film. And the idea in writing was, okay, who can be the character who comes to meet the airport, who doesn't know the country, who doesn't. So that's how the idea of the international auditor came. And that's how I kind of wrote the story through all the difficulties and little impossibilities to open the airport that he has to go through to understand the profound difficulty of the country and not the technical difficulty of opening the airport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Gregoire, if I'm kind of curious about your experience shooting there and how you may have prepared for the role of Alain. And if it's easier to say it in French, go for it.
Yes, thank you. No, I think I didn't prepare the role except for the dialogue in English, because as you can hear, I am really not fluent in English. I mean, I'm not speaking this language, but for except that, I have met Nora just a couple of weeks before the beginning of the shooting, and because she didn't have things to say about this character. I mean, in the script or even her, she barely comment on dit, t'avais rien à dire sur ce personnage, Nora.
C'est ce que tu as dit. I didn't have a very strict idea of how I want the character.
So I mean, it was like more like an intuition. That I will have just to watch carefully everything around, just to adapt myself to this comedian and to this landscape and to this country, and just to live the experience of this kind of initiatic path.
Journey.
I don't know how to say journey, yeah. And it was it was something I was waiting for at this moment of my life. So it was like a gift. Life gift. Do you know this gift? Yes. Sorry. Les pieds dans le tapis. Couldn't finish properly. Sorry.
In fact, it's true.
On comprend ce que je dis ou c'est parce que moi je vous entends très très mal.
Très clair, très clair. In fact, we went there, both of us, with no. We had the script, we had the dialogues, we had the story, but we didn't know how the character will start interacting with the landscapes, with the colors, with the wind, with the people. And Gregoire, he really constructed slowly his path, as he says, just being attentive and trying to look at the things, trying to hear. So it was, and we were also, as the character of Gregoire slowly starting appearing, we further we went into the film, more we understood who is Alain. And that's why we also together, we changed some parts of the script because it didn't correspond anymore to the character that we saw emerging in front of our eyes through the weeks.
Wow. Really an immersive kind of process of being there. That's amazing. Well, and Nora, I tell us a little bit about the development of this, because this was a project 10 years in the making, I think, and really took some time. I'm kind of curious about if you have, like, tell us a little bit more about the ups and downs of that, and did you always have Gregoire in mind for it? And, you know, just at what point did it really kind of come together?
It's true, it was so long. And I think I had the conviction, a very deep conviction, that a film should be made there and that it should be me making this film. And then everything else was could be fluctuating. Could be fluctuating. For example, the story changed several times before I found the right story. There was the boy that I was shooting, making photos of many years ago, but by the time that I got the money, the boy, he went to do his military service and he came back already. So I couldn't really fix on the actors, but the only thing that didn't change since this 11 years is the political situation. It's the same political situation of ceasefire, and nothing moved there political wise since 25 years. And to finance a film to finance in France a film that is shot in Nagorno-Karabakh, while people who give you the financing, they'd never heard Nagorno-Karabakh in their lives. I think this was quite of a challenge. And also, as I'm not coming from film industry, I had to learn the language, how to communicate my idea, my project. So I think if I was more prepared and if I was from cinema background, maybe I would have some more better understanding of the standards. But at the same time, I tell myself, you know, maybe it's good that it took such a long time and it didn't become like a standardized movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when finally we got the first part, like the first big part of the financing, yeah, suddenly everything came together and Gregoire said yes, and like we were shooting. And for all this year, sometimes I had a feeling that I'm like this big mythoman, a liar that tells I'll make a film because I was saying, well, next summer, and then next summer, and then next summer, and that next summer never came. And then, well, finally we were shooting in 2018.
Wow, that's amazing. What advice, I guess, knowing that, what advice do you have for other filmmakers just trying to get their project off the ground?
One thing I didn't know very well, it's the importance, well, Gregoire he's playing in the film since he's a child. He made his own short movies. He knows the industry much better, but I was very naive, and I didn't know how important is the script, and that the script should be woven into the idea. One should have the idea in the cinema. So it's not just an idea of a story, because the stories, I think, well, maybe I'm saying something really stupid, but for me, the biggest challenge of this film was writing the right script, because the images that you see in the film today, there are many of them that I already shot while I was going for location shooting. I was bringing the actors and I was trying. So I knew the images of my film. I knew the sound of my film, but it took me a very long time to find my story. Yeah. And then maybe another thing for the young, for the people who start making films. It was Gregoire. While shooting, he was telling me all the time, how do you say it, insolent? Kind of don't give up your, stay very demanding, don't give up, never give up. Don't give up even for the smallest thing, because afterwards you'll be the one who will be the victim. So I think, yeah, every time when I gave up, I lost. So I think you should keep up to your idea if you really want to make something. What do you think, Grégoire? Because he has as much experience as I do in filmmaking, even more. What do you think? What would be a hint to give to a filmmaker? Qu'est-ce que tu dirais qui est important à faire quand tu fais un film? Tout.
Mais c'est bien comme tu as fait, c'est très bien. Continue.
So I have one more question before we wrap up, but I'm curious, Gregoire, if there was any particular scene that was your favorite to shoot. I particularly love the drinking scene where Alain seems to let loose a little bit and kind of just settle in. But I'm curious if you had any particular favorite scene.
Sarah?
Oui, tu as compris ou je te traduis? Je te traduis.
Non, mais je comprends pas. Je l'entends très mal. Ça fait.
Elle disait si tu avais une scène que tu préférais tourner particulièrement, et elle a une préférence pour la scène de l'alcool. Est-ce qu'il a quelque chose de mémorable pour toi que donc tu veux parler?
Pour la scène de l'école?
Non, de l'alcool. De l'alcool, quand vous vous saoulez.
Ah oui. Mais c'était une journée. It was a beautiful day. It was like we spent. You know this. Sarah. You're talking about the scene when we arrived to yes, when we're drinking. But it was a marvelous day because almost all that men I spent a lot of time with them, and Nora was working and prepare and shooting and prepare her movie, and because I arrived a bit some days before the beginning of the shooting, so I had all this experience with them, and them bring me in a different place, far away from the country, in a very wild place, and doing a kind of celebration around food and alcohol, and so for me, we were just repeating this a lot of time. So it was almost our notre quotidien.
Our everyday life, getting drunk and spending time together.
Hanging out.
Before the shooting, of course, before the shooting. I love this scene, yes, but it's still a great remember this day. Very strong.
Yeah, it seems like there is this kind of genuine community that embraced you and embraced the film, and I think that really comes through in the storytelling itself, and it's I don't know, there's just something that's very special about that, and I could tell that, like, it seems like you really did kind of immerse yourself with these people, and what a special moment in time to be able to experience that.
Yes, but I think every actress was so happy to do these things. It's not always like that, to tell the truth. Like a lot of actors, they work, but sometimes they're a bit fed up because they have the feeling to always do the same thing. It's like a job, like not like you in your job, like everyone, you know. Sometimes you don't put heart in it, and in art, not on comprend là. I mean, in film or theater, in art, I think if you, of course, on everything, if you don't put heart, of course, it's it could be just the technical things, but something miss, I think, of course, and it's just as simple as that, but I mean, it's not so simple, in fact, because we're losing this passion. It's very fast. So,
I think what's important also to understand that when we arrive to the place with the idea that we're making a film, I think for the inhabitants of the place who are partly playing in the film, and for the authorities also, it was as if we were suggesting them a possibility to be seen, because it is a nation which is unseen, because we don't hear about them, because we ignore their existence, and because the making a film was to make them to be seen, we were really embraced. They were so happy to be helpful and, you know, for the film to exist. And the fact that the film had this Cannes distinctions, and now it is traveling all over the world. Yeah, I think that the cinema did something that politics has trouble to make, which was the biggest challenge for us when we were making the film.
Yeah. Well, Nora, before we go, do you have the filmmaking bug now, or are we going to see more films from you in the future? I hope so.
Yeah, I'm working on something, yeah.
Good. Well, we hope to see you in the future, and maybe another collaboration with Gregoire would be good too.
It would be good.
We'd love to see you both working together again. I think it's a really incredible film. Like I mentioned, a very impressive debut. Congratulations, and thank you so much for talking with us today. I wish you very well, and Gregoire, I hope you feel better soon. So thank you,
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
And we hope to hear from you on social media, #AFIFest. And we'll see you again in another movie. Thanks.